Well, the pattern that I'm noticing is mostly people relocating outside of New York still, especially when it comes to retirement age. New York has become very unfriendly towards retired persons. We don't even have that many properties that someone could buy that would be at a 300, 400 price point. You would have to move into a co-op or, very small, maybe like 700, 800 square feet, which may be a lot for some people, but when you're downsizing from a house, it's not.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Hey, real estate prices, are insane. Nobody can afford anything now. I mean, it's getting to the point where you're going to see billionaires panhandling in Palm Beach County. But let's find out what the real story is in New York. Noted real estate expert Andrew Ragusa is with us now. Andrew, great to have you back on. So these prices, we once had a guy named Crazy Eddie, electronic scammer in New York, and he used the commercial was, these prices are insane.
Yeah, that's exactly what it still feels like now, because the thing that makes it crazy is the average person's mortgage payment. I'm talking house that's like 600,000, 12,000 taxes, 13,000 taxes. So I'm not even talking about high end. I'm just saying right down the middle, that mortgage payment is looking something like 4,800 to, 5,000 a month, depending on how much they're putting down. And it makes me say, like, I don't know how people are affording this and doing it. Imagine being a single income, having to come up with $5,000 a month just for the mortgage payment, and then having everything else to pay for, the energy cost, the food cost, everything. It's really crazy to see, and it's hurting people. I can see it.
Yeah, well, Will Rogers, the comedian, once said, invest in inflation. It's the only thing going up.
Yeah, it's true. So I hope everyone's holding gold and silver.
Yeah, gold and silver have been doing very, very nicely. Well, put it this way. It's not so much they're doing nicely. It's just they're holding their own, right?
That's correct. I mean, it's just because it's a physical asset. And, I say gold and silver. I also mean real estate, because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think as long as you own a physical asset, whenever changes are coming to there's clearly going to be a change. Kerry, I'm sure you see this. There's changes coming to our financial system. The dollar cannot sustain this way. People cannot, inflation doesn't go down. We have never seen things get cheaper because of inflation. It's only gone up and stayed high. So something's got to give. And as long as you own a physical asset, like some real estate, some land, some gold, some silver, it'll always be worth something. People will trade for it, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, there's a day of reckoning coming for everybody, right? Not just the billionaires. I mean, like you say, it's unsustainable, right? You can't have, how much did real estate prices go up in New York last year?
Well, I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, but I can tell you that the houses, you used to look at like a $600,000 house and think that house didn't need that much work. It should have been move-in ready. It should have been in a really nice area. And, nowadays that's kind of like entry level, and you can find a property that's going to need full gut renovations. It could be like completely outdated, not touched since the 70s, 80s, 90s. And that'll be at that price point, or even have structural problems. I just sold a building in New York City, in Brooklyn, that there was a wall that was collapsing. There's termite damage everywhere. I mean, this building needs a ton of work. I still got a price for a $670. And that's just to give you an idea of how expensive things are. So your money's just not getting what it used to.
Yeah, well, one time when I was growing up, there was a commercial for McDonald's, and this kid goes, "Daddy, what's inflation?" And he goes, "Son, that's when the price of everything goes up and your father's pay stays the same." And, that's kind of what's happening here. Though, if you're an airline pilot and certain other professions, you're making out like a bandit now.
Duh. Yeah. I mean, well, look, there's always going to be winners and losers, right? I've just been trying to encourage people. I let them know and say, look, if you need to buy a piece of real estate and it's for more than just an investment purpose. I mean, if you need a place to live for the privacy, the security, the space, the school district, I mean, there's a ton of reasons to buy real estate. It's not always just, I need to make, a certain amount of appreciated value, or if you're an investor, it's a different story, but the person looking for a place to live, I encourage people and say, just buy it, because we don't know what's going to happen, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. If you're going to stay in that house a good amount of time and you can afford that payment, whether it's 2 incomes or 1, just live your life and we'll figure it out one step at a time, because you can't put your life on hold.
Yeah, well, that's it. So are people trading down? Are they moving further away from the city? What are you supposed to do?
Well, the pattern that I'm noticing is mostly people relocating outside of New York still, especially when it comes to retirement age. New York has become very unfriendly towards retired persons. We don't even have that many properties that someone could buy that would be at a 300, 400 price point. You would have to move into a co-op or, very small, maybe like 700, 800 square feet, which may be a lot for some people, but when you're downsizing from a house, it's not that much, right? So we don't have a lot of those properties and it doesn't seem like a lot of them are being built. There's a lot more rentals being built than there are new opportunities to own. So people are not staying.
Yeah, so they're getting the heck out of New York. Even Florida has gotten as expensive as New York, hasn't it?
Yes, it's true.
So I guess, what people, they move to New York and then they move from New York to Florida, and then they don't like Florida, and then they wind up in the Carolinas and they call them halfbacks.
Yeah, well, from what I'm understanding, you can still find some properties there for, under 400, 500,000. And I think that's what, when a person's retiring, it's kind of where they're aiming. They want something that's, 250, 300 or less. And it still provides, let's say, at least 1,000 square feet and a comfortable lifestyle. And also in the Carolinas, the property taxes are not in the thousands, whereas in New York, it's in the tens of thousands. Like my property tax is $17,000. I'm on 3/4 of an acre. Most of the houses that I sell are averaging property taxes $15,000 in Nassau County and maybe $13,000 in Suffolk County. So you move somewhere like the Carolinas and you pay a couple hundred or maybe even 1,000 for the year. Obviously, it's just a lot friendlier on your purse.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many things that Florida really does offer retirees that others just, forget it. Right.
Well, all I can say, Kerry, is that there has to be some sort of change here in New York if they expect people to stay, because like I said, it's not becoming friendly for retirees. Anyone that wants to own real estate, it's becoming very expensive. There definitely is a lot of rental opportunity. I see rental developments being put up left and right. And if you were looking to rent something, they're happy to let you pay that. But it doesn't seem like they want to help you own anything. So if anyone's looking to leave New York, you're probably going to have a lot more money in your bank account.
It's unfriendly to retirees, unfriendly to working people, unfriendly to businesses. Why is anybody still there?
I think most people love New York for a couple of reasons that, for me personally, the reason why I love it here is because we have such good culture where it's mixed of all different types of backgrounds and ethnicities. You can go to a restaurant and eat in a different place, in a different style or culture every night of the week. There's activities, there's events, there's arts, there's parks, there's boating and beaches, and there's tons of things to do that in some other places doesn't have that level of diversity. You can't have that level of experience. I know people use that word diversity and it's been made to almost make some people cringe, but there is something special about being able to, have some sort of change and all these influence from everywhere. I think that's the magic in New York, that you can really experience so many different parts of the world in one place. It's like the world city.
Yeah, well, they've been living off their reputation for a lot of years. And, like you say, it's unsustainable and they're going to have to do something because it just can't go on this way. Because look, the financial industry really, to a large extent, has moved out of New York. Miami arguably is now the Miami area, arguably the financial capital of the United States now. You know, that was the cash register for the state. Doesn't exist anymore. They haven't figured out a way forward.
You know, it's my hope that New Yorkers are learning their lesson one person at a time. You know, I don't think, my experience when I'm out with the everyday person is that the majority of the people think like you and I. They're tired of this. They're tired of seeing money wasted. They're tired of all their costs going up. And I think that they will do something at the voter booth when the time comes. Yes, we're still going to have people on the other extreme. I can't say everyone is going to change their mind, but I think the majority of people are waking up. And I don't think it looks dim.
Okay, well, I hope you're correct. And a good time to wake up would be this November. I'm not making a political statement here, but sometimes the best thing that people can do, voters, is just turn on the establishment, and do the opposite of what they've been doing, right? Like Einstein said, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome here, right?
I'm in full agreement with you. I mean, anything that comes out of the mainstream media, I believe, is a lie. And if they're pushing you in one direction, you should go in the other direction. I think the new source of media going forward is going to be shows just like this one. It's going to be local, grassroots, people talking to each other, having communication across all different platforms, unfiltered, undigested, people just getting on and talking. And that's the way of the future. It's going to take over. And that monster that was created by technology, they can't put it back in the box anymore.
The genie is out of the bottle. Hey, I heard that in New York City, they were just going to replace all the street lights with gas lights because they've been gaslighting everybody for years anyway, right?
That's hilarious. They actually just ended the red light traffic program here in Suffolk County because of all the pushback. So
and your system has basically turned the head on. The problem is we only have two parties really to choose from, and it's Dumb and Dumber or Worse and Worser, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So just get out there, and like I said, it's going to be that grassroots, small town conversations that when you meet with other people, you talk amongst each other. That's the new way their information is going to start spreading, just like shows like this. And, people will demonstrate their feelings at the voting booth.
So I haven't talked to anybody else on the show about this, but I want to get your take on the settlement between the National Association of Realtors, which you're not allowed to call yourself a realtor unless you're a member of the NAR. They just had this huge antitrust settlement, and it supposedly is going to shake up the real estate world. Can you just explain what happened, explain what the settlement is about, and how it affects you?
All right, so it's interesting. From my understanding is that in this case, the argument was that sellers should not have to be forced to pay a buyer's agent. And the way that the case was presented was that these sellers are claiming that they didn't know when they took a listing agent and hired them that they were going to be paying a buyer's agent. But I don't know what contracts people were using over there, but here in Long Island, our contracts clearly state on them the commission total and how it would be shared. And if you think about it, that was never the seller. It was the listing agent choosing to split the commission with the buyer's agent because it brings more offers to the table.
Of course.
I honestly feel that the case that was brought against the NAR was another attempt at that globalist agenda of you will own nothing and you will be happy, because all it did was increase the closing cost for the buyer. Now buyers have to pay for their own agent if they want representation. And it's not making it so you have an increased rate, increased property prices, and now increased closing costs. And in fact, there were some MLSs who decided to push back against this ruling and they stated that it's not the Department of Justice or this, it's not the decision of this case that makes it okay for the DOJ to silence sellers who want to offer commission. If a seller wants to offer something to a buyer's agent to increase the number of people who come to view his property, then the commission can be offered and publicly displayed. So there's been a lot of pushback even now that the case is over.
Really? Yeah. And I understand the National Association of Realtors being the prime target here, but just because you're a member of that organization doesn't mean you need to be bound by their settlement. I don't understand that. Has anybody challenged that?
I haven't seen it so far, but the only thing that I understand that was going to be a major change that's coming is the MLSs, which are a member of the National Association of Realtors, were told that they can no longer offer on the MLS compensation for buyer's agent. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that a seller cannot offer, because a seller can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. The seller can offer a commission to anyone. It's really up to them. As long as the person's licensed and they're legally allowed to receive it, it's a negotiation tool, correct? So now
the buyer is going to have a new contract then, effectively saying, we're going to see that you're paid out in proceeds, your fee, right?
Well, there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can have a contract with the buyer's agent, exactly how you said, and the buyer can pay it themselves, or they can ask the seller to pay that contract, or the buyer can make an offer and include the commission in the offer. This way, the commission is financed into the total mortgage amount. So if let's say they agree on a number with the seller and they say, I'll give you $500 for your house, but they write up the contract and make it say $510, and they could take that extra 10, give it back to the purchaser. The seller can give it back to the purchaser and he can pay his agent with that. Right. Or you can go back to the traditional route where the seller just takes, it doesn't matter. See, it's all coming from the same pot. Right. Yeah. So as long as the net number is agreed upon, everyone can walk away happy.
And, hey, you're a realtor. You're not working for nothing here, right?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, it really just makes, look, I admit there is a easy path to get a real estate license here in New York. It's a 2-week crash course in law. Okay. As long as you can cram some information and study, you can get yourself a real estate license. Yeah. You can't establish yourself in a career and, do a lot of business and transactions if you don't actually make a good impression on people, because this is a business where you make money. It's a kill what you eat kind of, you eat what you kill kind of business, sure. Right? So if you're not good with the public and good with what you do, you're not going to get the business, right?
Sure.
So yeah, have there been realtors who entered that didn't display any value, that they were kind of just a door opener and they didn't help you with any contract terms or spotting things in houses or whatever? Yes, it happens where there's people out there that don't display any value. But then there's the opposite, where there's people who are extremely professional, and you can walk through a property with them and they'll point out things to you that you don't even need to waste money on a home inspector. They can tell you, oh, look, I know what this is already. And they can identify these things, and they can help you with contract terms. They can find you the best mortgage rate, the best closing cost deals, the best title. I mean, there's so many services a realtor can help you with if they know how to do the business. And I believe those strong agents will always be around. They will adapt, survive, overcome, no matter what changes happen.
Right. Some agents, it reminds me, once a politician once said that the vice president's job is basically worth a bucket of spit, right? And there's a lot of agents out there who really aren't even worth that, right?
Yeah, agreed. So look, the best way to find one is to word of mouth, try to find someone, someone who's used. Even you could read Google reviews on a person, look up the sales history on one of the major websites like Zillow or Homes.com. The only fault with doing it that way is that a lot of those sales have to be manually uploaded. And someone who could be like a top producing realtor selling 100, 200, even 40 homes a year, that's still a lot. Yeah. Depending on what, where you are. You have to manually enter all of that as it happens. So they may fall behind on updating that. But if you see good Google reviews and good stuff like that, then you should be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know. Hey, technically, I am a realtor. I became one in Florida just so when I bought and sold stuff, I, make another 2-3% or save 2 or 3%. And, my realtor, though, who I used, I can tell you, she got me a better price than I would have gotten on my own. She was just a really good negotiator, better than myself. Not embarrassed to say that. And when you get a good realtor, it doesn't cost you money. It saves you money.
I agree. And one of the things I think that gets overlooked all the time is contract terms. And unless you're in the industry and you're working in some sort of field related to real estate, you don't really know, as the average consumer, what you can and cannot put into contracts. And a realtor can work some magic for you on the buy side or on the sell side and make deals extremely secure or extremely beneficial. If it's not even just the purchase price, it can be so many other things. And that only comes from knowledge and experience.
So true. So true, Andrew. And, people make jokes about realtors all the time and everything, like they do about lawyers. But when you've got a situation and you want to get the best price, either selling a property or buying one, a realtor is invaluable, a good realtor. And we have to specify that. Hey, well, appreciate your coming on here. And we will talk to you again. Just tell us, how do we find you? How do we connect with you on the web?
Well, anybody can find me on Instagram. It's just my name, Andrew Ragusa, or just do a quick Google search and you'll see Andrew Ragusa, licensed real estate broker, just pop up. That's my business.
All right. Links in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And you can click it, get right to Andrew. And while you're there, please sign up for your free newsletter. Andrew, always a pleasure. Hey, it's going to be interesting to see how this situation in New York unfolds. There's an old saying, when something becomes unsustainable, eventually it stops sustaining. That's where we're getting to very rapidly with New York. And I hope your assessment is correct.
Thanks, Kerry. I love being here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.